Hello and welcome to another video. Today we will be discussing Zenmap, Nmap, where to install it for Windows 11 and Linux. So Zen Zenmap and Nmap, they're for Windows. You can get a package where they're packaged together. You install it, and Zenmap is the GUI version of Nmap, which gives you a nice little window that you can type in your addresses and specify your flags in a nice, easy to use graphical application. Nmap is the text-based version. As you become more experienced in cybersecurity, some people prefer the to use Nmap, especially if you're doing stuff over text-based protocols like SSH, or you're using doing a lot of your work strictly in the terminal. So as far as Nmap itself, the tool is a network discovery tool. So, and some of its, more highlighted features is service scanning, where say if you're assessing a network, you're trying to identify what types of systems are on your network and the types of services that those computers are running. Say if like you have web servers and you want to see what version of the web applications are running on those systems, you'll be able to identify those versions, and you can kind of from there you can determine if those versions need to be upgraded, or if there might be any posing vulnerabilities that are existent in your environment. And other purposes are, for general network mapping as well. So where you can get Nmap and Zenmap for Windows, you go to nmap.org. This is the main page here. We can see some of the latest news on Nmap, a short description, essentially kind of what I was just explaining about Nmap, what it is, and the different tools that you can get along with the base standard Nmap application, and some other information here. Now, for Nmap, we will go to download, and you would want to get the Microsoft binaries, the latest stable self-installer. This will go. For me, this is relatively quickly. So we will run it. Yep. Your basics license agreement, and our components that we can install on the side. So we can specify essentially what tools we want to install along with the base Nmap application. There's uh, a few tools in here, but the main one we want is the Nmap core and the Zenmap front end, GUI front end. That's the ones we'll be discussing today. As far as all these other ones, we can keep a default and circle back to those in a later video. Okay, and that is essentially how you would install it on Windows. Very simple, straightforward, and easy. Okay, so once you have it installed, you will get the Zenmap GUI icon on your desktop here, and this is the front end application. As soon as it decides to load up, here we are. Okay, so looking at this for the first time, we can see that we have a target box, which in here we will specify our IP addresses or IP address range that we want to scan, subnet ranges. We can put in individual IPs. We can, such as, for example, 1.1, something like this, or we can put in a whole subnet range using CIDR notation, or you can even do something along in the lines of something like this. You can use a hyphen and have a range of IPs, Or say if we want to do specific targets, we can do put a comma separator and put in multiple IP addresses like this. So that's the target box. This down here shows you the command that it will run, the actual specific nmap command. So this would be the command that if we were to run it directly in the command line, this is what it's going to be running. And we could specify our scan profile. So we got a couple options here. Intent scan. This one will use this -A, which is it will do an extensive scan on ports that it discovers, services that are on those ports. It'll try to resolve those services and give you as much information as Nmap possibly can on what it finds. That's what the -A does. And we have some other ones. We could do plus UDP. We can specify we want to scan for UDP ports, all TCP ports, which will scan the whole spectrum of TCP ports. Ping scans. This one will, instead of it identifying what services are enabled, what this will do, it will just try to ping the host or range of hosts on your network to see if they're available without actually testing the endpoint services on those, or hosted services on those endpoints. And those are the major ones. We have a couple other ones, quick scans, which just is a quick, it'll just do the most common ports, trace route, which will give you a detailed trace of how Nmap, the route that Nmap took to get there, and some other ones. And then there's a bunch of other functionality that's not in here, which once you start to work your way into the command line utility, there's a lot more options that you can play around with Nmap. But these are the most basic that you need to get started. So for now, we'll just keep it intensive. We'll go with a basic scan. And in the background here, I have an Ubuntu server that is running, should be running Apache. Let me just verify that. Let's see. Is it running Apache? Yes. Yep. Okay. It's running Apache and it's running SSH. So we should be able to see those in there. And just to verify, I'm just going to ensure that that is running. Okay. Okay. And our IP address for this machine is 40.154. So in Zenmap, if we know the IP address of the target system that we're looking to scan, we would just put it into the target box here, as I explained. 140.54, right? Yep. And we will click the scan button here, and it will run. And we can see it already discovered 2 open ports. So TCP port 80, which is the HTTP port, which is hosting a little website, and port 22, which is a SSH administrative port, so that you can get a remote command line on that server. Down here, it will run the NSE scripts. So it's gonna, with that -A flag, it's gonna try to get as much information on these ports that it can. So we could see it identified the port, the state, which is open, the service, which in this case it's SSH, as well as the version of the SSH server that's running. And from here we can also see it's running Ubuntu server. It gives you some OS information as well. And then down here we could see the HTTP port, which is Apache. And it will try, down here we have some OS fingerprinting, so it tries to identify what operating system it is. and we can see service info OS Linux. So this is a very basic scan, most common one. And from here we can see how using this tool, can identify what is running on this system. And now what we can do to verify that, we can just, for the SSH or the HTTP port, we can go to our web browser, we'll type in that IP address. It's 140. 54. So 40.15, right? And we can see it's running the Apache 2 default page on that port. Now, for one more quick example, I just want to show you the difference between our intense scan and our ping scan. So our ping scan, instead of providing all this output, it's just going to tell us if that system is up and running. And sometimes it's good to just run a ping scan or a ping sweep of a network before you actually start probing those ports or trying to identify those ports, because it could potentially get flagged, that traffic, and potentially block your system, especially if there's network security appliance in place. And that is that. And then what we can also do is, as we scan more hosts in here, or if we do a whole subnet scan, we can see a little table here of our ports that we discover over time. We can see a topology graph of our systems that we've discovered. We can get a little detailed drop down here of our scan information, and a saved list of our previously executed commands. And then we could also click the service button here and take a look under there and see our services with the associated host name or IP address, right? So that is Zenmap, very simple, very easy to use. Now for Nmap, which is the command line variant, when you install Zenmap, you also will have the Nmap command tool on Windows, but we'll switch over to Linux and go over how to install Nmap on Linux. So here is our Linux host. Log on in, and if you have seen my how to install Wireshark video, we will be essentially using the same apt command to install Nmap. So we're going to do sudo apt install Nmap. So we're using the apt tool. We're saying we want to install a package, and then the package name. We'll provide our password, and it will go out and retrieve Nmap for us. Okay. And whenever you install a package from apt, it's always good, if you're unfamiliar with the tool, to look at the corresponding man page, which is just a text-based documentation that can be viewed in the command line. So we do man nmap, we can get a reference guide right here in the terminal, and it will give us everything we need to know, the different types of arguments we can provide, the different types of scans that Nmap has built in, and this will tell you everything you need to know. There's, like I said, Nmap, there's a lot of different options, and it could take a while to get familiar with all of them. But the more you use it, the better you get, and the more you learn about all the different niche functionalities that Nmap has. So now from the command line, to run essentially the same command that we ran on Zenmap, we will do nmap minus T4, which T4 that is timing. So this will determine the scan speed, and it ranges from 1 to 5. So 4 is pretty quick. 5 is aggressively fast. By default, it is 4. And then we do the dash A for intensive scan, minus V for verbose, which just provides additional output, and our target IP address. And we can see that the output already looks very similar to what we saw in Zenmap. And we will, retrieve the same information. So this is Nmap, a basic how-to on how to use Nmap and set it up for Linux and Windows. I'll go more deeper into this on the flags and the different functionality in a later video. But for now, I hope this was informative, and everybody have a great day.